Hello and welcome to World Talks here on TVP World with me, Hashim Kumar. Well, confusion in the Polish Supreme Court. A decision by the Supreme Court justices is being challenged. It concerns the removal of the National Prosecutor General. Is the legal system being used as a political football, or is there some justification to the claims that the judges of the Supreme Court were not properly appointed? Well, to discuss this and related issues, I'm delighted to be joined by Jakub Kocjan. He's a board member, Akcja Demokracja.
Good morning.
Hello, welcome back. Good to see you.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
A pleasure, as always. So tell me, is the law being used as a political football, whichever party happens to be in power?
Of course, the situation is complicated, but it is the result of actions which were taken by previous government for many years. So I believe that now we are a bit in this trap prepared previously, but we are able to make the right decisions and to make things in order if we are following the judgments of European courts. And of course, this case is quite complicated because a lot of institutions are in this problem involved, but I strongly believe that the possibility of solving this problem is very clear. Dariusz Barski is current national prosecutor, and Dariusz Barski was not even able to be national prosecutor because he was not prosecutor, active prosecutor at this time when he was appointed by Zbigniew Ziobro in 2022. Why? Dariusz Barski he retired previously, and until 2022 he was still retired. Yeah, in this retirement of prosecutors, he was retired, by the way, when he was 40 years old, and after a few years he wanted to go back to become prosecutor, but in 2022 it was not possible. Of course, in 2016, Zbigniew Ziobro made it possible just when he became the Prosecutor General and Minister of Justice, because Law and Justice connected these two positions together. And for a very short time in 2016, yeah, it is true that it was possible to go back after retirement, to go back to prosecutor's office. But it was only for a short time in 2016. And in 2022, it was 6 years later, there was not such a possibility to go back to being an active prosecutor. And if you are not acting prosecutor, it is very clear that you cannot be a national prosecutor. And it was clear also for judges in the district and appellate court in Szczecin, because there were only two cases like Barski in the country. Apart from Barski, it was judge in Szczecin, and that's why Szczecin judges had to resolve this problem, and their judgments were the same as the opinion of Minister of Justice, and my opinion is the same, so that for now the national prosecutor is Dariusz Korneluk, not Dariusz Barski.
Yes, but by definition, I mean, you know, cases are sent to the Supreme Court for resolution of disputes exactly like this. Well, the Supreme Court has reached a decision. Surely, whether, you know, the different parties like that decision or not, that they are legally obliged to follow it, are they not?
Of course, Supreme Court and its judgments are above the judgments of district and appellate courts, even in same or very similar cases. But the problem here in my opinion, is that it was not Supreme Court. There were no justices of Supreme Court who issued these judgments, because all three persons who were deciding this case a few days ago, they were these so-called neo-judges. So the persons who were appointed, selected, or like in this case, promoted to Supreme Court with the participation of so-called Neo-National Council of Judiciary. So the institution which is, according to Polish constitution, responsible for selecting and promoting judges, giving recommendations in these cases and opinions to president, who is doing it formally, finally. But in this case, since 2017 law and since 2018 implementation of this law, National Council of Judiciary in Poland is not working well. It's not the same institution which was described in Polish constitution, because it was the parliament, the same specifically, which took control over National Council of Judiciary, over majority of National Council of Judiciary. And according to European Court of Justice and European Court of Human Rights judgments, it's very clear that this institution is not working according to the standards of international European law. That's why the people who were selected with participation of this Neo-National Council of Judiciary are called neo-judges. And according to majority of lawyers, and also according to Adam Bodnar, Minister of Justice and General Prosecutor now, the document which was presented by them is not a final decision. And Polish Supreme Court in November, 27th November, will decide this case, but in the bench will be consisted of legal judges, so judges who were promoted to Supreme Court by legal National Council of Judiciary. Of course, this problem is complex, but I'm still waiting for the decision of the legitimate bench of justices in Supreme Court.
So who appoints Supreme Court judges, and how are the people that appoint them? They themselves appointed?
For Supreme Court, the judges are selected the same way as for other courts in Poland.
Right.
So,
by whom?
The president formally gives the nomination, but it is before prepared, and the list of persons who are either appointed to being a judge or promoted from different echelons of courts. This list is prepared by this National Council of Judiciary. And that's why this problem is so grave, because of course there were thousands of these promotions in the whole judiciary system. Unfortunately, also in Supreme Court, yes, where the problem is the biggest, because there is no possibility to appeal from the judgments of Supreme Court, as it is the court of highest instance. So it is, of course, challenging for a whole judiciary system, but to make the situation, to improve the situation, we have to strictly follow the European court's decisions, as they are our only tool to make the situation in order again.
So is it the jurisdiction or the role of the European Court to comment on procedural matters in the appointment of judges, and especially Supreme Court judges?
The role of European tribunals, both of them, is to protect the fundamental rights of the citizens, because it's not even about the procedural rights inside Supreme Court or the rights of these judges. It's finally about the right of every citizen to have a chance, get a judgment from the person whose status is clear, because only that way there is a stability of the law. And of course, in Polish case, the problem is that if there is only neo-judge in your case, it means, and European Court of Human Rights stated it very clear, that your rights were violated if there was no possibility to change the bench, for example, that way, in order to have this legal, let's say, old judges, but of course it's not about their age, in the bench. And it was in the pilot judgment of European Court of Human Rights in case Wałęsa against Poland, and Poland has to implement these judgments. Otherwise, we all will pay as taxpayers the reimbursement for all people who are engaged in these cases. So in order to protect both our rights as citizens and also to protect the money of taxpayers, we have to follow the judgments of European courts, which are defending eventually the rights of Polish citizens.
Understood. Now, there are a couple of other things that I want to talk about in terms of the Council of the Judiciary, and we may have time later. But before we get there, isn't there a major risk with all of this going on that basically the authority of the Supreme Court is being undermined?
Of course, the authority of the institutions which were impacted by a rule of law crisis is limited, and with every year the situation is worse. The best example is Constitutional Tribunal, where the decline of judgments, but also the decline of number of even complaints prepared by citizens, it is really shocking. It's more than 50 or even in some comparisons 70% less than it was before rule of law crisis. So it is very clear that the rule of law crisis impacted the authority and public confidence in these institutions, and it is very dangerous in the long term. But we have to be like doctors. If there is a problem, health problem or a problem inside the system, we have to, even if the medicine is sometimes difficult, we have to do it. Otherwise, we will have consequence results
which could be
for many years, and it is the worst case scenario.
Understood. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there, but do come and see us again soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As always.
And that's all from us in this episode of World Talks. Goodbye for now.